Hey everybody, this is Indy Pride with Milk and Cookies Total War, and today I'm going to be bringing you a new series called Monks vs. Modernization. Basically, I'm just going to be bringing monk corps against FotS samurai armies, and hopefully I'll be able to get a bunch of good replays for you. But today, we're going to be playing on Forest Gully. My opponent is Kevin Hoyt, and he is bringing a lot of really good line infantry, and unfortunately he started out with the archery dojo. So right from the start, I'm at a disadvantage. He has a Infantry de Marine, Royal Marine, and a lot of Vermilion Bird Force, and some Yari Key and a Carbine Cab hidden in the back, and a Gatling gun. I am bringing a Monk Corps, 4 Naginata Warrior Monks, 2 200 range Bow Monks, and like I said in the last battle, those are really important when you're fighting FotS Samurai. You can basically just kite forever with them and do a ton of damage. I usually get like 300, 400 kills with my Bow Monks. But one reason that I thought that bringing Monk Corps against FotS Samurai is a good idea is there are a bunch of retainers, underrated retainers that a lot of people don't use versus FotS Samurai or even in Shogun 2. And I'm going to talk about them for a little bit. Maybe the most important retainer I bring is Yamabushi Guide. I touched on it in the last battle. Gives you a 20% speed boost over rough terrain. So water or hills, you'll be able to run up a lot faster. You can cap workshops or capture dojos faster because you're able to get there faster than the opponent. And the speed boost is really important when closing in on FotS Samurai armies. You just want to close that gap once you send your melee in. Another one that most people do not use that is actually a really underrated retainer is called Relentless, and that gives you a 10% speed boost to monk units, and that's really important when fighting against FotS Samurai because basically your monks are going to be able to run as fast as Yari Samurai with the speed boost activated, and so they can close that gap really quickly, get into melee, and once you get into melee and pop your war cry, you're in good shape. So at the moment, I've captured the shrine, he's captured the archery dojo, and we're just setting up. I'm sending my army over to the left flank to get on that hill just so I can cover myself from any fire from that Gatling gun. And I'm flanking with my mounted samurai and Naginata warrior monk cavalry. And they also have war cries, so those are expensive but really powerful units. I'm going to start the skirmish up here soon. Just sending in my mounted samurai to get some preliminary volleys off against those infantry de marine. When playing against FotS Samurai, obviously you want to focus your fire on the really expensive units. So the infantry de marine and royal marine over on his left flank are going to be my first priority, and my 200 range bows are going to be able to do some really big damage to them. They don't have any armor, so bow volleys are going to take them down really fast. The only thing right now at the moment that I have to worry about is his Gatling guns. They do have 250 range, so they do outrange my bow monks. So I'll just have to be careful with them. And as you can see right now, they've already started firing at my Yari Ashigaru, but that's what those Yari Ashigaru are there for, just to meet shield. And I'm now starting to get some volleys with my bow monks on his infantry de marine. Already taken them down 25 men, and he's going to have to respond to that or he's going to lose his unit. He's already down to 100 men. So yeah, the 200 range bows are extremely important versus FotS Samurai. As you can see, he's already lost 50 men in that unit, and that's an expensive unit. One thing to note though is up in the top right, the balance bar, the game doesn't seem to like the odds when you're playing Shogun versus FotS Samurai. As you can see, I have a third of a chance of winning, it seems like. But the more I've played this game, the more I think that Shogun actually has a really, really good chance against FotS Samurai. I probably have like a 95%, 90% winning percentage against FotS Samurai in 1v1s. I don't lose them very often. And I mean, it's not even that I'm that skilled, it's just that I feel like with 200 range bows and the right retainers and army setup, it just makes it really hard for them. I mean, as long as you don't run straight into their guns and do some skirmishing first and get rid of their elite units, you should be in good shape. But sorry about that. My monks are still getting some volleys in. Those mounted samurai are actually really good. They have a 4.5 multiplier versus FotS Samurai units. They actually have stronger arrows than my bow monks, and I think a lot of people don't know that. Obviously, they only have 30 men in the unit, so they aren't quite as powerful. But okay, and right here, Kevin is sending in his Yariki, and he's actually going to do a really good job microing his Yariki. It was a mistake of me to leave my bows that exposed, and I didn't respond to it quite well. I let my Yari Ashigaru get far away from my bow monk, and he's able to flank around and get into my bow monk, which is not good. I mean, that's a 1500 Koku unit. You do not want to lose that unit. I send my cav in to try to catch him, but it's too late. The damage has already been done. My bow monk's already down 25 men, and they're going to rout here in a second. And I made another mistake by sending in my monk cav close to the infantry de marine, so they get torn up a little bit. But basically right now, I want to just take out his cavalry. I have cavalry supremacy, and I will be able to do that. He's running his Yariki away, but in a second here, I'm going to get my general out and tie him down, because I do not want that cavalry taking out my other bow unit. So my general is coming out, going to tie him down, and my monk cav should be able to finish him off when they get that rear charge off. That whole sequence there was not good for me, though. I was a little worried at this moment because I only had one bow monk left. But he does make a couple micro mistakes. He leaves a Yariki right in front of my bow monk to get torn up, and he almost gets that Yariki in behind to take out my bow monk, but I managed to catch it and get it out of the fight before he manages to take it out. And he makes another micro mistake because the Yariki behind my lines that broke and ran away is actually going to come back, and he's going to leave it there and forget about it, and I'm just going to be able to take it out with my general and what remains of my monk cav. My micro at the start of this match was not as good as I would have liked it to be. I took more losses than I would have liked. And I didn't skirmish quite as well as I would have liked, but I ended up almost taking out the entire infantry de marine unit, so that in and of itself is almost worth it. At the moment, I'm just sending my monk cav up to take care of his Yariki, and as soon as that's gone, I'm going to have cavalry supremacy. He does have that carbine cav, but other than that, he just has that and his shooter gen and the remnants of one Yariki. So we're just reforming here. Going to take out that Yariki. And it's also important to note that I have the shrine and the sword dojo at the moment. So my Naginata monks have pretty insane stats. 19 attack, 14 defense on 2 of them. 19 attack and 17 defense on 1. And then 19 attack and 20 defense on the other. That is the one problem with a monk core against Follow Samurai, is that while they do have a lot of speed boost retainers and the Mikoshi Shrine, which gives them +2 attack, they are very expensive units. And so sending them straight into melee isn't always a good idea. So you want to use terrain to your advantage, use the hills and dips in the valley. Forest Gully is a great map to play against Follow Samurai because there are a lot of divots and hills that make it hard for Follow Samurai players to shoot at you. And you want to be able to close that distance, minimizing the amount of fire you take. Otherwise, you're going to be in trouble. So in a second here, I'm just going to reform, and we're going to get this final engagement underway. You really want to make sure that if you have a 200 range bow, you want to make sure that you get the most out of it. Like I said before, I usually get like 300 or 400 kills versus Follow Samurai armies with these 200 range bows because they don't have any armor and bow monks can just tear them apart. But that 200 range is so important because even their best units, like the 150 range infantry de marine, they're going to get torn up, probably be at half strength before they close the distance. And if you skirmish well and retreat when they send their line infantry at you, you can keep getting volleys off and volleys off without taking any losses. And it's just very important to out-skirmish Follow Samurai players if you're going to beat them. Over here on my right flank, I have my Mounted Samurai reforming, a Tendon, and a Yari Ashigaru. Those are just going to be meat shields when I get this final engagement underway. But at the moment, he has more line infantry than I would like to charge. So I'm going to do some skirmishing with my bow monk and whittle down some of those Vermilion Bird forces and the Royal Marine as well. Right here kind of aggravated me. You can see his Gatling guns are walking up that hill, and CA really needs to fix this. There's no reason that when you're limbered up you shouldn't take losses, but for some reason I get a couple volleys off and just no one dies. And that would have been nice to take out that Gatling gun at that moment. But frankly, from what I've seen of Gatling guns, I'm not very impressed. They seem like an intimidating unit, but they're actually not that good. I don't know how many kills they get this game, but it's not very many. They're not worth their cost, I'll say that. So I have my Monk Cav over on the left flank, my left flank, and I'm going to uncap the Archery Dojo, which is going to be very important for me. You never want to let FotS Samurai players get Archery Dojo if you can help it, because it increases their reload skill to absolutely ridiculous stats. As you can see, his Royal Marines have 109 reload skill. His Infantry Marine has 114 reload skill. Excuse me. And his Black Bears have 69 reload skill. So I do not want to close in and finish him off with my melee troops yet. If I meat shielded properly, I could probably get into melee and finish them off, but there's no reason to do that. If I have a 200 range bow with 50 ammunition, I can just skirmish. And as you can see, a fire volley is going off here. Get a close-up of that, taking out that Vermilion Bird Force. And I'm just going to skirmish with him. I'm just not going to let him keep coming at me without retreating. There's no reason to let yourself get shot if you can avoid it. And that's what I think a lot of people seem to do. They panic when they're playing against FotS Samurai. They see all those guns, they see them charge at them, charge forward, and they want to charge forward too. But when someone has this much firepower, you never want to charge straight into their guns. It's kind of a toss-up. You might win, you might lose if you meat shield properly and micro properly, but if you have a bow that can do this much damage, skirmish with it. Right here on my right flank, sorry about his Yariki got in around trying to take out my Mounted Samurai. At this point, my Mounted Samurai are just going to be a meat shield. They're not particularly important. With 30 men in the unit, they're a cost-effective unit. You can use them like light cav, but they're just, with only 30 men, the bow isn't going to do that much damage to an enemy unit. So I'm just going to meat shield with them and do whatever skirmishing I can. But they're not a particularly important unit at this point. I'm now getting some shots off again with my bow monk into his Vermilion Bird Force. In hindsight, this was not the best unit to target. They are a line infantry unit, but they are not veteran. So, yeah, I mean, I can take out all the line infantry I want, but probably the Royal Marines would have been a better target for that. And he's going to respond by sending up his Carbine Cavalry. And this was another big mistake of his. I'm not sure why he decided to send them straight up to fight my bow monks. I know he wanted to take them out, but he would have been much better served flanking around with them. Instead, he's just going to send them straight up the middle, and my bow monks are going to just have free shots at them. They have a Yari Ashigaru up front as a meat shield, and he just isn't going to have an angle. He might take out a couple bow monks, but the extra bow damage I have on them is just going to tear up that Carbine Cavalry in a couple seconds. So just a couple volleys will be enough to take them out. And that's an expensive unit. You do not want to waste that. If he had skirmished properly with that, he could have done a lot of damage. Unfortunately, he does not, and his Carbine Cav is going to disappear in a couple seconds. Retreating my Mounted Samurai, just kind of meat shielding with them at the moment. They're down to 19 men. And I actually do make a micro mistake here, another one. I had my Mounted Samurai targeted on the Carbine Cav, and I didn't realize it. And so as soon as they're out of the range, they're going to run forward and get shot up, and I'm going to lose that unit. But again, like I said, they're not particularly important. Over here on the left flank, my two remnants of Naginata Warrior Monk Cavalry are flanking around. And this is going to be maybe the biggest mistake of the match that he makes, is he forgets about his general. Excuse me. And I'm going to flank around with my Naginata Warrior Monk Cavalry. And he's going to leave his general there, forget about him, and I'm going to take him out. And that is a unit you do not want to lose. FotS Samurai generals aren't as important for the morale boost, because you don't want to let your line infantry get tied down in melee. But he has 95 reload skill, and he could have skirmished really effectively with his general. And if he had used that, he could have probably gotten a lot of kills. But he's going to forget about him. And let's get a nice little close-up of my Monk Cav flanking around behind and getting a rear charge off. And obviously, no unit is going to do well when getting rear charged by Monk Cav with Warcry, but especially Avatar's Bodyguard with only 14 attack and 10 defense. They're going to disappear pretty quickly. Still getting some shots off with my bow monks. They're at 200. They're at 300 kills now, and they're still getting shots off. I'm about to start shooting these Royal Marines in a second. I just lost a Naginata attendant on the right flank, but it's not a big deal. And pretty soon here, yeah, I'm sending my monk cav in to take care of these Gatling guns. I do not want those shooting at my general or any of my monk units. And so as soon as my monk cav ties down that Gatling gun and forces some of his infantry to turn around, I'm going to go for it and close the distance with my melee units. They are not limbered up though, so they will take losses here and start wavering. And the war cry will finish them off. And basically at this moment, with what's left of my monk cav, I knew they weren't going to do a whole lot of damage, but I wanted to take care of those Gatling guns and just make him turn around. So as you can see, almost his entire line is turning around to face those two depleted units, and I'm going to be able to close the gap with my warrior monks. And as soon as I close the gap, there's nothing he can do about it. Even if he tried to kite, the Relentless retainer would just make it so that I could catch up to him. You see how fast they're running over hills, and yeah, they're almost as fast as Yari Samurai, and they're just going to close that distance. And as soon as they're in the melee, it's over. It's funny though, the balance bar is still way in his favor. But yeah, go in a stand and fight, get a couple more shots out with my bow monks, and then stop shooting so that they don't tear up my Naginata warrior monks. And just wavering all over his line. Not much he can do at this point. The war cries are going off now, and his line is going to shatter. So I hope you enjoyed that, guys. We're gonna go over the unit statistics here in a second. I got 400 kills with the bow monk, and now, yeah, we're just gonna end the battle here and look at the unit statistics, and I will see you back on the stat screen. Okay, and here we are on the stat screen. We're just gonna look at the stats real quick. Like I said, I got 400, almost 400 kills, 393 kills with my bow warrior monk. I'm telling you, if there's one unit that you want to bring against FotS Samurai, it's 200 range bows. I know I've said it a ton this replay, but I can't stress it enough. They are amazing versus FotS Samurai. My warrior monks closed in the distance, got good kills, 124 kills for my Naginata warrior monk. And actually, I didn't micro my warrior monk cav as well as I would have liked to that game, but they did serve their purpose. They turned his entire infantry line around so they weren't shooting into my melee, and as soon as I got into melee, it was over for him. There's nothing he could do. His infantry de marine was his best unit with 171 kills. His Yariki did well taking out my bow monk. That was actually really impressive by him, the way he microed his Yariki to take out my bow warrior monk. It was a mistake of me to leave them so exposed, considering how important they were. But he did well taking them out. And I think maybe his biggest mistake was bringing those Gatling gun units. I think he would have done well with a couple more cav, maybe an Imperial Guard cav, or something that could have taken out my bow warrior monks. But he didn't micro it quite right. I was able to surround him, and that's what you want to do against FotS Samurai. You want to skirmish, surround them, get them focused on more than one direction, and then close in and finish them off in melee. So I hope you enjoyed that replay, guys, and there's a lot more content coming, so thanks for watching.